Welcome back, F-Bombers, to our podcast today. We have a special guest in the studio today with me to talk about balance. I don't know about you as a leader. I've had a really difficult time sometimes balancing life demands with work demands, even my kid demands, to be honest. So I brought in, I think, someone who is fabulous to talk to about not just balance, but leadership overall. Tammy from our NBRHC Foundations. And she's a wonderful woman. I've known her for God knows how long. I feel
2 decades.
2 decades. That's a long time. It's a long time, Tammy. Tammy, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm the president and CEO of the North Bay Regional Health Centre Foundation. I get to lead a team of, staff of 9 and, a really army full of volunteers that are so passionate about our hospital and want to make a difference in the lives of others and help us fundraise and engage our community in philanthropy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the volunteers fondly, actually. So how long have you been in that role, Tammy?
Oh, boy. So I've been with the foundation for 21 years now.
Wow.
I know, and CEO for 11.
Wow.
So it doesn't seem like that long, and it's one of those things that kind of evolves over time. I think back to when I took over from Lois, and she retired, and I think there was 5 staff at that time, and it's some really slow strategic growth has taken us to a team of 9 and a couple of interns and just an amazing team now.
Yeah, and you run some wonderful events. Obviously, you have one coming up this weekend. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. By the time this airs, will it be over?
Probably. Yeah, probably. But they can join next year.
Yeah, we have a lot of great community engagement opportunities throughout the year. Our hospital walk runs every September, usually the last weekend in September. And it's, a few hundred people coming onto the hospital site to walk and run and fundraise for medical equipment and programming at our hospital and serve our community.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a good time. I remember doing it as a department as we were chatting before the show started. And so highly encourage people to get out there and join in for the community events that are offered.
Yeah, and beyond walk run, there's so many other great things to do. So third-party events, we've got lots of community members who host their own events and parties and what have you, and fundraise for the hospital. Just this past weekend, I was out at the Corbeil Four Seasons Club accepting a donation from their cancer care fundraiser that they did in the middle of the summer at their
amazing.
campground. Yeah, so lots of stuff like that happening around town.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's chat about balance, Tammy. I don't know if you can ever achieve it as women in leadership, to be honest, but I wanted to maybe start off with, how did you become the CEO, basically, of the foundations? Like, what was your path to leadership?
Wow, without going on a full rundown of my resume, I think a few key things throughout my career that have helped kind of form where I'm at right now. And certainly when I was a teenager and young adult, being involved in the cadet movement and then the Army Reserves, I think all of that training really contributed to being able to accomplish difficult tasks under difficult circumstances, which helps you become a little bit more strategic, perhaps. And it also teaches you a lot about leadership and what good leaders look like and what lesser good leaders look like and what kind of leader you want to be. I was living in Kingston. So I'm born and raised on Vancouver Island.
Oh, okay. I
moved across the country with my spouse at the time, and we landed in Kingston. And I had an interview with Queen's University in their development office, and I didn't get the job, and I was so disappointed. But then I secured a position with nursing administration at Kingston General Hospital.
Right.
It helped me, really familiarize myself with the hospital environment, really, and what programs exist at a hospital and what does the healthcare system look like. And so not knowing where I would eventually land, I look back on that as one of those formative experiences.
Right. A key moment, right, for you? Yeah,
key moment for sure.
Yeah.
And then when we moved to North Bay, I got a job at Nipissing University in the development office. So got that chance to work in philanthropy. And, at the time, I really wanted to do some frontline fundraising. And subsequent to that, I went to the University of Alberta, but still sort of in that background piece and not really understanding what philanthropy is, but not really understanding the system or the mechanics behind it, and
Right.
the philosophies, and the and really how it's done and what are the most important things about it. And so learned a lot over those years. And when we landed back in North Bay, I looked up Lois Krause, my mentor, and there
you are.
And here I am. And she took me under her wing for 10 years. And
Wow.
I learned so much from her.
Yeah, I think that's key. We haven't talked about that yet on the show, about mentorship, but that's a real key. Particularly, I find just being in leadership, when you have good people that are there to kind of support you and mentor you with things you don't know or things that you should know, or through the steps that you have questions about, right? I think that's key. Okay, so tell me about, you've moved kind of all over the place in your previous kind of work. What did balance look like for you as you were kind of going through that?
Well, I think, I've always been a little bit ambitious, and so balance kind of sometimes falls by the wayside. But I think of balance really as that moving fulcrum. So it's not always teetering evenly. So sometimes it tips towards home, and sometimes it tips towards work. And, I think when we say yes to a lot of things, defaulting say no to something else that might also be important. Balance to me is more about integration and blending. And it's really changed quite a bit, certainly over the 20 years that I've been here, and, my 30 years in the workforce. And so, we used to be able to go home at night and not be checking email or not be on our phones or what have you. But in that same instance, yes, we have almost a bit of an addiction maybe to that stimuli, but also that opportunity to have the power really in the palm of our hand to be more flexible. And so, I'm sure you've been in the same situation where you're doing a quick meeting in your car on a FaceTime, and then you're running into a parent-teacher interview. So we're able to do that. And so prior to having the technology that allowed us to do that, one would have to give, and normally it would be your family. So I take that technology to heart in the fact that it does provide us more flexibility. Agreed.
And I think since COVID, that has really, I think, more or less shaped the experiences of being in the workforce now, particularly as a woman in leadership for me. Having the flexibility and knowing that, like, okay, at 3:00 I have to leave because I have obligations that my daughter has to go here and my son has to be here. But I get home and I can still pick up while waiting for the bus, right? Checking my emails and taking meetings when I have to. So that flexibility has been super key for me to kind of maintain what I think is balance in my life, right? But do you think there's challenges? Like, have you experienced challenges in that balance?
Yeah, I think there's challenges with that all the time. And I think probably the first thing that you give up is sleep. And the other thing that you take on is more caffeine. Yep. And so so prioritizing those kinds of things and building resilience. So have a good support network. So in Ontario, my daughter and I live here, and we don't have any other family, certainly in North Bay, immediate family. It's all out west. And so you got to build that little community for yourself. It takes that village to, really be a family. And, my family's extended since I've been here, and I've got amazing neighbors and friends and people I can count on. And I think that's part of building that resiliency to be able to manage it when sometimes we feel like we're not managing it.
Yeah, you talk about being resilient or building that resiliency, right? Are there other things that have helped in building that resiliency for you?
Yeah, you need some interests outside of work. I think that the only time that I've ever really switched off is when I'm more than one time zone away. So, you take that vacation and get that exercise and have some hobbies and again, build that community of friendship and family where you are.
Yeah, that's key. I think for me, some of the challenges that have presented certainly are children, because they make demands, whether they like to or not, for me. But it's also, noting that the work schedule is not always conducive to what you need to do at home, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, how do you navigate that?
So I think, again, using your network, because you can't be there for your kids all the time.
Right.
And so in my role, I have a lot of evening work, a lot of weekend work. Yeah. Sunday, when I was in Corbeil, I took my daughter with me. And so she was my photographer.
I love it.
Yeah.
Give her a job.
Walk around this weekend, she'll be there volunteering. And,
That's awesome.
We count that as time together.
Yeah. No.
I think that, there are certainly challenges sort of outside of that. And my daughter's 19 now. And when she was 8, and up until the time she graduated from high school, their needs are certainly different.
Yeah.
And now the level of independence that she has, I think, was part of what she developed out of necessity. And I have one child, and so she has to be independent, and doesn't have a sibling to lean on or what have you. So
So just kind of navigating. Those parameters for myself too. It's the same thing. Like I often find I have to bring one child or the other to things that have to happen, right? For work, or vice versa. Work comes with me to their events, right? So I'll bring a meeting to the arena, right? Or to the dance studio, or whatever it might be in that case, or even to, their doctor's appointments.
Yes.
Because that happens, or there are therapist appointments, or whatever it might be, right? But that it's, again, navigating those kinds of challenges. Do you find, and I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm sorry, Tim, putting you on the spot. But like I find too sometimes that it's almost like you have to have the system set up for you to do that too. So like if you're not in an organization that supports that in some capacity, that makes a huge difference.
I agree. And so I try to have that kind of flexibility for my team as well.
Yeah.
It's when kids are sick, and when you have to stay home, you have to stay home, and
things come up.
And
right?
sometimes when your child is sick, I'm not going to work from home. I have to be at home 100%.
Yeah.
Lots of many years when my daughter was quite young, we had to travel a lot for doctor's appointments, and there were a lot of times when I couldn't be at the office, and that was kind of almost pre iPhone, where you could be everywhere at once, right?
Yeah.
But I was afforded that flexibility to be able to do that, and that's something I'm extremely grateful for.
Mm-hmm. I think what you're talking about though is key, because I think as a leader, that's something I always want to set up for my staff as well too, my team, for them to know that they have that flexibility, right? That I understand things come up, right? And so let's move beyond that. Let's figure out your schedule, how we accomplish what we need to accomplish, but setting up that environment for them, right?
Mm-hmm. And then also, for them to be able to tell us right away, this is what I need you to do in my absence today. I think that's tell me how I can have your back is really important.
Yeah, I think that's really key too, as a leader, right? So if there was a piece of advice you gave to women that are coming into leadership, that are in leadership positions, and they're having a hard time kind of striking the balance between life and home, what would that advice be?
Well, I have a few things. So certainly, I felt really differently at different points in my career. I thought that leaders didn't sleep because that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
And then once you're kind of in that situation, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And I think I was CEO for about a month and a half, and I ran into a former colleague at an event, and he said, congratulations, you're going to do great, and learn how to delegate. And so it just and that delegation piece is key. And so it doesn't mean just learn how to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
It's about building a team that you trust, that is also resilient, that is also engaged, so that you can spend your time doing the most important things during your day,
Yeah.
or during your evening or during your weekend. So to really build that trusted team that you can rely on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a key thing too. Actually, I was just running into this concept today of trusting your team to do the things that need to be done. But again, it's about setting that tone, right, within the team to say, I'm trusting you to do this in this capacity. And checking in with them once in a while, making sure they check in with you, right, when they need that help.
And empower them to make decisions as well. I think
Right.
that's really key.
Yeah.
So that, because otherwise it's a knock on your door
Every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want that. Okay, what other advice would you have?
Set your priorities and really make sure that your self-care is one of those priorities. Because you can't lead if you're starting to break down, so you want to make sure that you're doing the most important things.
Yeah.
All of the time.
So do you know what self-care looks like for me, Tammy? Today at the office was listening to Madonna while I was trying to write a proposal. I was like, I need to get into the headspace and I just need a little time to rock it out and empty my brain out, right? So, and I think self-care looks very differently for everybody, but it can be just the little things, right?
For sure. Self-care for me today was getting some fresh air and going for a walk at lunch.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, often I'll go with a colleague, which basically turns into a walking meeting, which is also very therapeutic.
It is, totally.
But it is a really great use of your time, and it's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's key too with self-care, right? Because here's my premise. I don't think balance is ever super achievable for women. And it's like what you say. Sometimes it's a lot of yeses and there's a lot on your plate, and sometimes there isn't, right? It ebbs and flows with whatever happens through the year or through the demands of your work or whatever it might be. But I think, just trying to remain consistent to yourself, your team, obviously, your family or whoever it is around you. And that self-care piece is super key, I think, because I think sometimes we forget that.
I think also it's really important that if you're a leader, that you are doing work that is meaningful to you.
Yeah.
And so, being aligned with the mission of your organization, just personally and professionally, is going to be more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And then some of that other stuff that we talked about will just naturally flow.
Agreed. Yeah. Having the purpose and feeling the purpose, right, to what you're doing. Yeah, I agree. Is there anything else you would want to impart on people? Any other advice on balance in the life and
We
work?
talked a little bit about mentorship, and I'm really passionate about mentorship and being a mentor and having a mentor, and also finding those opportunities to extend yourself into the world in a way that is meaningful. So, serve on a board or volunteer.
Yes,
or
100%.
That's how you build your network,
Yep.
which then leads to building resiliency, which, it leads to connection. And I think that connection piece is so important. And
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of opportunities to reach out to mentors and benefit from.
And I think, too, if you're going to do some of that reaching out and networking and, again, doing it with purpose, right? Mm-hmm. Finding something that aligns with your own kind of beliefs and values or
And
your
passions
and everything, right?
For sure.
Because in that capacity, you won't feel so pulled or strained.
Well, then it becomes, a joy, really.
That's right.
And so your volunteer work should be joyful.
Yeah.
I've had really amazing opportunities. I served on One Kids Place board for 6 years, and that was so incredibly fulfilling. Yeah. And now I'm serving with the Association for Healthcare Philanthropy, and it is, it's just spectacular. It's a wonderful opportunity to have an impact on our sector and also to connect with other individuals working in philanthropy across North America and beyond.
Awesome. Well, Tammy, thanks for your time today on the show. It's been awesome. I feel like we've just had a coffee conversation and it's been awesome. Thanks, folks, for tuning in. And I hope that we see you again on the next podcast.